And welcome back again to Fourth Down Talk, the show where every down counts and so does your opinion. My name is Albert, and I'm always here with Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good, man. Pretty good. It's Tuesday. It's a very, very important day, people. So get out there and make sure you make your voice heard and tell us who you want your team to trade for. It's the trade deadline. You guys talk.
Exactly. We're definitely going to be breaking down the trade deadline as well as also the Chiefs game that had happened last night against the Buccaneers, where the Chiefs in overtime showed that they are still the dominant team in the AFC, at least rolling so far from a record
Mm.
standpoint. I don't know. I have my opinions. But let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Let's get right into the game last night. Last night, the Kansas City Chiefs had a pretty close, but still good win against the Buccaneers, showing that they are the top team in the AFC. Chris, how did you feel about the game?
That game had one statement for me, and that was welcome to Kansas City, DeAndre Hopkins. They went to him early. They went to him often, and he scored. He scored twice. I think he scored two touchdowns
Yeah.
last night. It was all DeAndre Hopkins and Kareem Hunt. Like that was the entirety of the offense, and it worked. There was that brief, scary moment where I think everybody in Arrowhead, including me, because I have him on my fantasy team, I held my breath when I saw Patrick Mahomes kind of go down for a second. But he was fine. Some people were saying he was being a little dramatic, but hey, a Chiefs win. There are some question marks, as have been attached to several Chiefs wins this year, but I can't deny them being the winners that they need to be when they need to be them. That there's that shot. I don't know if you've already seen it, but there was a shot right when the coin toss happened for overtime. Baker's
Baker
face, he
Mayfield.
knew. Yeah, as soon as he knew that Patrick won the toss, he said the game was
But no, let's get into it.
over.
It is kind of a hot button issue when we talk about how the Chiefs have been their success. Some attribute it to leniency from the referees. Some say that, maybe the NFL is looking out for the golden boy. I don't know. Is there any credence to that, you would think?
Are they rigging the games? I'm not going to say they're rigging the games. That's a bit much. Some people will disagree. Now, do I think there's some certain favors that go your way when you're the face of the league? Yes, yes, I do. There is an infamous stat. I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but I do know there is a stat that states Patrick Mahomes leads the league in interceptions that have been called back due to the other team committing a penalty. And it's not a particularly close list. I believe there's a double-digit lead between him and the next person in line, which is Josh Allen, another guy who's considered one of the top quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, they are definitely top tier quarterbacks in that case.
I mean, when you're the face of your particular brand, like when you think of the NFL currently, his face is going to pop up. He's in multiple commercials. He's a very family friendly household name. So they're going to protect their asset. They don't want Mahomes to go down. Mahomes goes down. That's like when Brady went down in 2008. That didn't feel right. The season didn't feel the same. Funny enough, they also didn't
Uh,
make the playoffs that year.
well, they didn't make the playoffs mathematically that year. I remember
Yeah,
that
off
season.
of technicality. Yeah.
Looking into it, Patrick Mahomes does have, I think it's at least 17 interceptions that's called back due to
Hmm.
defensive penalties, the most in the NFL since 2018.
Yeah. Which is when around the time he started.
Yeah, that looks to be the case right there. I don't know. It's something to consider in any degree, especially when you look at the Chiefs' success and whether or not we're not saying it's not legitimized. It's still
Yeah.
legitimized because it's still a top tier team. But with their success and them making another run to a Super Bowl, is it safe to say Chiefs are a dynasty, or is that something that's just
Oof,
reserved because they don't have that many
man.
championships in a row?
You brought out the big word. You brought out the dynasty. Now, we haven't seen one since the guy that even Patrick struggled against, Brady. He had an official dynasty. I think he was the last one to officially have one. But based on dynasty rules, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has what? He has 3 rings. He has 4 Super Bowl appearances. He has 2 MVPs. He has 2 Super Bowl MVPs. The only person he's lost to in the Super Bowl was Tom Brady. And he's also one of the only 2 times he's lost in an AFC title game. I think a dynasty is more than deserved for Kansas City right now. I mean, think about this. Since Patrick Mahomes has started, we have not seen an AFC title game anywhere else
Mm,
since he started, except maybe last year when they were in Baltimore and they still won that game.
that's
So,
what they were in Baltimore. Well, I mean, that goes to show you the dominance in that case. And then plus you do count in the championships and the MVPs. it is safe to say, if nothing else, if they're not a dynasty, they're definitely what you would call the NFL royalty, right?
Yeah, it's that team where at the beginning of the season, when you start picking who's going to win the division, you just automatically just say, well, the West, AFC West, that's probably going to be the Chiefs. It's a team you
Yeah.
can't count against. You can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I don't care what quarter it is. I don't care how many points he's down. I don't care. I've seen this man with my own two eyes come back from 24 to nothing. I've seen him come back from down 10 in the Super Bowl twice. All right. The only time he did not complete a comeback was against Tom when his receivers couldn't catch. He was down four starting O linemen. And it
Yeah.
was a weird year. That was a COVID year. That was a weird year. Weird time.
There was a lot of weird things happening that year. That was also the same year the Steelers were 10-0, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about that Steelers team is that they were undefeated as well, but a lot of people did not take them as a legitimate undefeated team because they felt like any
Mm-hmm.
other team could beat them under given right circumstances. That team did eventually lose to the Washington team on a Wednesday night football
They
game.
did.
I do
That was a
remember.
weird year. That
So
was a
I bring that up because, again, I mentioned about how that team was 12-0 is how they finished.
mm-hmm.
They were not taken as a serious threat. How is it that these Chiefs, we talked yesterday about Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow's stats. If you flip them
Mm-hmm.
around, the team records make sense. Patrick Mahomes not playing well. How are we to take this Chiefs team seriously? Are we really just considering that who they are and not who they were and not really considering who they are?
I think a lot of it is actually them living off of their past experiences. Just like I said yesterday, if this had been the first season or the second season Patrick Mahomes started and this was how he was playing, but the team was playing well, we could say, oh, well, they're carrying him. He's talented, but they're carrying him. But no, we've seen from 2018, 19, 20, 20, 21, 22, and even 2023, Patrick Mahomes is extremely good at being a quarterback. He might be the best player I've ever physically seen with my own eyes. Like
Mm.
he's thrown 50 touchdowns in a season. He's gotten two MVPs. He's Super Bowl MVP twice. Like I said, he knows how to get the job done when he needs to. It doesn't matter if he throws picks. He can drop a fumble. He's going to get that touchdown when he needs to, whether it's going to be on his legs. He's going to find Kelsey. He's going to turn some receiver through some motion or something into something that you've never seen. Mecole Hardman, he was never successful anywhere else. Only successful here in Kansas City. Travis Kelsey, one of the best tight ends in this era. Who do you have? Andy Reid on his side too. I mean, Patrick Mahomes with his talent alone has always been built to succeed. And now he has not only the talent, he has some personnel around him, he has coaches around him. There's not a lot that's going to slow them down. And the fact that here we are in going into week 10 and it doesn't even really feel like they've kicked into like a gear yet, like a playoff gear, like a push, because other teams out here are pushing. Like you have teams pushing, like the Cardinals are playing hard. They need to play hard to stay in first place. The Rams are playing hard to stay in their division race. The Bengals, they're trying. I mean, their defense is not really doing much for them. The Commanders are playing hard. The Eagles playing hard. The Chiefs don't look like they care. That's the thing. They don't look like they care, and they're undefeated. Are they
Mm.
like the Steelers from a few years ago? No, they're not, because I didn't believe in those Steelers. But this team,
Yeah.
I could see this team going to the Super Bowl. Easy.
Mm. All right, that's fair. I mean, it's not like anyone's over the hill. Some would say that Ben Roethlisberger was playing past,
Yeah,
not necessarily prime, but I believe that was his last season anyway
it
with that
was.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
was
for
on his
500
last
yards in the playoff
legs.
game, 500
He
yards in
was.
the playoff game that he lost to Baker
He did.
Mayfield.
He did. That's because remember that
That's
game was
it.
weird. That game started off with them getting a safety, much like the Super Bowl with the Broncos Seahawks. It was very strange.
Yeah, I don't know. But keeping it to the perspective of everything, you talk about how good the Chiefs you talk about how good the Chiefs are and that they are more than likely
Yeah.
going into the Super Bowl. I don't know. I still feel like this may be the year for the Ravens. I do feel
Mm,
like they're still the better team in some degree.
mm.
I understand the dynamic of how good this Chiefs team is, but I don't know. I feel like this is their year. I do. I swear, it has to be this year, if no other year.
I mean, this
How
year
about the
the
Ravens?
Ravens are built to be the Chiefs beaters because the Chiefs, what they do, and You can watch other shows. Nick Wright, he will say it himself. What they do is they just run the ball on you 100 times. Eventually, they're just going to wear you down. And then right when you think Kareem Hunt's coming up the middle, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw like a 15 to 20 yard pass or just hand a jet sweep to Xavier Worthy. Their offense is not complicated. That's the problem. It's much like Gunther in the WWE. His offense is not fancy. It's not complicated, but every time it hits you, it punches you. All right, it hits you right in the chest. 20 yards of Travis Kelce. Kareem Hunt burrowing through your line. 10 yards here, 15 yards there. Next thing you know, they've scored. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to do anything. It's very strange.
Oh, well, just call it great coaching. Good defense. I mean, if nothing else, it is still a good defense that they have in Kansas City. But
Yeah, it's one of the best.
yeah,
One of the best.
yes. I don't know. I think the Ravens
The
are good, but
Ravens are
nonetheless,
good. I don't want to knock the Ravens. I like the Ravens as much as I can like a bird team, but I like Lamar Jackson. All right. He's also a 2-time MVP. He knows how
yeah,
to throw.
unanimous MVP.
He is
Yeah,
currently, I believe he's still currently top 10 in passing and top 20 in rushing. I don't know if he's still top 20 in rushing by himself, but I know he's top 10. But he doesn't need to be top 10 in rushing because he has Derrick Henry now. All right. He has Zay Flowers, showed up when he needed to, very fast. He's got Derrick Henry to punch through any runs that Lamar doesn't want to take because he doesn't want to get hit, obviously. They added Deontay Johnson, who's very familiar with the division. You have a Super Bowl winning coach in John Harbaugh. This team is built to be successful. It's only a matter of if they can maintain who the Ravens are when they get to the playoffs. They have an identity all year, run first, whether it's with the quarterback or on the ground with your running backs. And then when they get to the playoffs, they just stop running. They stop. Why? I don't understand. If that's what brought you here, why are you not doing it anymore? It's to the point where people were calling a fix last year. Because last year in the AFC title game, Lamar completely started playing differently than he had been playing all through November and December. It was very strange. I don't
yeah,
know.
it was out of character, and that's something I hated about that whole situation.
I didn't like
But
it.
but speaking of powerhouse teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens, who managed to stay consistent at the quarterback with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, it does highlight how critical and solid the QB play is for a successful team. And that brings us to the instability that is of the Dallas
Mm,
Cowboys in their current quarterback situation. Dak Prescott being placed on IR, looking at a situation in which they're going to bring Cooper Rush in as a starter. Maybe, possibly Trey Lance. Do you see? Okay, let's put this perspective on it. Last time Cooper Rush did start, he had 5 starts about two,
yeah.
3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was 4-1 in those starts. And plus, the Cowboys had just recently made a trade right
Mm-hmm.
before the trade deadline. Now, does this in any way possibly improve their chances in their own division? They're only 3-5.
Only 3-5 is easy to say, but when you have a team ahead of you at 6-2 and a team ahead of you at 7-2, that makes it a little bit more difficult. And they haven't even played them yet. Either one of them. They're playing one of them this weekend. They have the Eagles this weekend. Now, if Cooper Rush or Trey Lance goes into Philadelphia, because I think it's in Philly. Is it not in Philly?
Uh, what am I looking at right here? This is Washington team. Give me a second to pull up Philly. Philly will be playing the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas.
In Dallas. Okay, that's even better then. Okay, in Dallas. If Cooper Rush allows Philly, because I believe he played Philly last time during his little 4-1 stint, but that was a different Philadelphia team. I believe Gardner Minshew was on that team. I don't think Jalen Hurts played in that game.
Are you talking about
Uh,
QB? I can take a look at
yeah.
that, but I'll pull that up here in just a moment.
If if if
Actually, no, go ahead.
If in any way, shape, or form the Cowboys win this game, not only are they not out, that gives me a tremendous red flag for the Eagles. Because the Eagles are on a 4-game win streak, but the vibes are not 100% great. You know why? Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni has had issues this year. He's had issues maintaining his composure with not only on the field, with his own team's fans. The analysts don't
Oh
like him.
yeah,
A lot of the players that are not Eagles players don't like him. There's been a lot of anonymous reports saying he's a jerk. He's kind of an a-hole. We don't like his vibe. We don't like his presence. So if Mike McCarthy can will this team to beating Nick Sirianni's Eagles, That's a huge arrow up for the Cowboys and a huge arrow down for the Eagles. But
Uh, oh, let's say real
good.
quick for a little light of context.
Hmm.
In that game, Cooper Rush, they lost that game when Cooper
Oh, they
Rush
lost that
started
game. Okay.
17-26. So they did
Oh,
lose, and
did they win the other one then? The second time they played them that year?
they did win the other one, but in that one, Dak played, but Gardner Minshew played.
Ah,
Jalen Hurts played in the first one against Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush in that game went for 181 yards with one TD, three interceptions. So he actually didn't play well in that
oof.
game.
Yeah,
That was the
that's
game he
bad.
lost.
But see, this Eagles defense is arguably not as good as that Eagles defense is. Because yes, the Eagles are coming off a win, but they're coming off of a win of a bad Jaguars team that still required them to perform a last second interception to save them in the end zone to win by 5. So my confidence in Philly is not 100%. Like I believe they could do something, but I don't believe it's sustainable because they haven't shown me it's sustainable this year.
Well, I mean, that's very true in that degree. But
Mhm.
I mean, in the end of it, do you see it as any form of a quarterback situation where they're going to have trouble deciding, or do you see it as just Cooper Rush the far off starter, or does Trey Lance possibly have a shot?
I think Jerry Jones is too stubborn to play Trey Lance, so he's going to play Cooper Rush. And then let's say by the second or third quarter, especially the third, if they're down, say in the third quarter, like 21 to 10, 24 to 10, something like that, I think you might actually see Trey Lance come in. But I don't think Trey Lance is starting anytime soon. And I just want to go on record and say I disagree with that. I think Trey Lance should get a start. He had a couple of starts when he was on the 49ers. He didn't really get a fair shake, but I think he's 2-2 in his time with the Niners officially as a starter, or one. He might be one and
Yeah,
three.
2-2.
He's 2-2. Okay, that makes
Yeah, two
sense.
separate years.
But in the
Um, yeah.
preseason, when they played Trey Lance on the Cowboys, I'm not gonna lie to you, it looked bad. It looked bad. I think he threw 5 picks in one preseason game this year, and
Uh,
it was pretty rough. But again, how often does the kid see the field? He's not going to get better if you don't let him see the field. Colts, sorry, wrong conversation. It's a different team. We'll talk about that
well,
later.
I don't know. Okay, well, I do have to push back on that because here's the reality of the situation. Not everyone should be starting as well. Talk about Jordan Love again. Jordan
Yeah,
Love developed on the bench and became a better player, but when
he
Jordan
did.
Love was coming in at a times with against Aaron Rodgers, people thought, well, he ain't that guy. He ain't even that
Nah.
good. In fact, some even thought that when Aaron Rodgers was toying with them, and they no, this is when he was then they drafted Jordan Love. I take that
Mm,
back. Some thought when Aaron Rodgers was threatening to retire, and then they re-signed him, they took it as more of a signification that okay, well Jordan Love definitely isn't ready.
yeah.
But I don't know. Some people really thought Jordan Love was great this year, and I guess they think he's mediocre this next year. I
He's
just people
been.
like Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson,
Mm,
they do need more time. Not everyone is immediately ready out the gate.
no.
I'm not saying Trey Lance is. I don't know. I don't. Anthony Richardson may not play football after this year, but we'll see.
I mean, when you're setting league lows in completion percentage over the past 25 years, that's not a good look. And we're talking 44% completion rate. Right? That's bad. Now, you can't even make half your throws. Half. That's all I'm asking you to do. If you throw the ball 10 times, it can't be caught 5 of them. Maybe you get lucky and get 4. Like, come on, man. Nah, that's not a good look. He's big, but he doesn't slide. With Anthony Richardson, I feel like every throw is either a touchdown or an interception. There's no in between. That's all he does. He throws TDs or he throws picks. And is it a matter of he's just not that good, or is it a matter of they need to bring in other coaches? Do they need to bring in a quarterbacks coach? Do they need to bring in an offensive coordinator that's more suited to his play style? Because who's the head coach? Shane Steichen, right? He's the coach for the Colts. Didn't he come from Philly? I believe he
Yeah,
did.
but I mean, but hey, they put Joe Flacco in, and he ain't looking too great either. So
Old
it's
man
like,
Joe.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking at the draft in which he was drafted in. They have Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Hendon Hooker, who's in the Detroit Lions,
Hmm.
Anthony Richardson, Jared Hall, Will Levis, Tanner McKee. I'm looking at all these names, and none of these names really
Man,
stood out.
that might just not be a good quarterback class.
I mean, it is still only the second year, but even then, I
Yeah.
look at this current quarterback class. Like, I don't know. That could be a different topic of another day. Just the production of college and the QB position at this point. How is that working out? How
Yeah,
is it any
because
good?
the thing is, you're going to get the top draft picks on the teams that do the worst. So if the team is not built to even wait for the future to be set up, then you're going to throw this kid to the wolves and he's going to look bad and everyone's going to say he's a bust.
Okay,
Now,
well let's okay. Well, my thing is that I think these kids are just busts because now I'm looking at 2023. Malik Willis, you
yeah,
have Kenny Pickett, you have
yeah,
Sam
Kenny Pickett's
Howell,
bad.
Desmond
Yeah.
Ritter, Matt Corral.
Uh,
Like I okay, granted they're bad teams, but at the same time these ain't necessarily shout out Brock Purdy, who
yeah.
seems to be a diamond in the rough, and even then some question him. So it's
Yeah,
like I
I
don't
have
know.
I
I
have
question
questions
whether or not.
about Brock Purdy's arm strength.
Oh, I'm questioning whether college is producing quality QBs.
So that being the case, how do you feel about the notion that some analysts are pushing to make it so now you have to stay in college 2 years instead of just one before you can come
No,
out?
I don't. Listen, as far as that goes, here's the reality. If you are a child prodigy, you
Mm-hmm.
can advance through school and go into college. And if you are really smart, you can advance out of college and go straight into the workforce. You can go straight into the workforce after high school. I don't believe in hindering people from going into the workforce
No.
if they have the so-called talent to do so. It's really just up to the evaluators whether or not they believe they can do it. So to answer that question, don't like that idea. I think if a kid can go from high school to the pros, hey, Godspeed, more power to you. Not saying that's something a team should do, but I think the player should have that ability.
So then it comes down to one of the harder questions for me. And this one, I can't figure out a solid answer. The question becomes, well, then if you're going to draft a kid and he's likely going to be a project, he's not the most NFL ready, as they say, how long do you give him? How long do you give him to experiment and say, hey, you might need more time. We're going to sit you down. We're going to let you kind of sit behind somebody. Do you do that right away? Like, I feel like you should be able to see something in practice, right? To say, hey, look, he's good, but he needs time. Like Jordan Love had the benefit of sitting behind an Aaron Rodgers, but guys like Will Levis, they didn't have that. All right. Will Levis doesn't have that. Malik Willis didn't have that. Who
I'm
Anthony
just say
Richardson
behind
doesn't
Ryan
have that.
Tannehill.
But
But
Tannehill
to
didn't
be
want to
fair,
mentor him. He said straight up, that's not my job. He said, that's not my job to do
well,
that. Hmm.
Aaron Rodgers said the same thing, and then Brett Favre said that to him. Look, every rookie gets a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
4 years is enough time to figure out what you can and can't do. And 4 years, the only problem is in that 4 years' time, have you traded out head coaches? Have you gone through organizational change through ownership? That's the only thing you can question. Jared Goff with the Rams. Organizational transition. They were going from St. Louis all the way to Los Angeles. And even then, he stuck around for the head coaching change.
That's
And
true.
it isn't until they got to Detroit that everyone realizes, oh, wait, he really is a really good quarterback. Baker Mayfield. He had to deal with transitional change of the coaching position. And everyone kind of questioned whether he was good. But hey, you give him something stable, you can work it out. It's a lot of things that can play negative. You talked about it just earlier about how the bad teams are going to draft you anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're an organizational disaster like the Panthers, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to run the risk of not showing the best of a Bryce Young. But if you have some form of stability like that of Green Bay, then you can at least get some juice out of that lemon of Jordan Love. I'm not trying to call him a lemon, but I don't
Oh,
know. Maybe he
whew.
is.
Nah, I
That's
don't
not the
think,
direction I was trying to
nah,
go.
Jordan Love is not a lemon. All right. Jordan
I
Love
know. Yeah, let's play
is
that. He's not a
a
lemon.
Jordan Love is good. I don't think he's great yet. I think he's good.
Yeah.
He still makes mistakes as someone who is just starting. Because yeah, he's been in the league. This is his fourth year in the league, or fifth year in the league actually. But this is only
Yeah.
his second year as a starter.
Because they signed him. That's right. 'Cause they
Yeah,
signed him to a contract, didn't they? Yeah, they gave him a deal.
yeah.
So that
They
way they
gave him an
can make him the
extension.
long
Yeah.
term. Yeah. So yeah, you get
So
a 4 year
he.
deal though. Well, let me ask you this. Going back to your question about how long should you give him, is 4 years enough time or
Mhm.
is that
I
too
think
long,
you
too
should know
short, too long?
before 4 years is up because well, I don't think Daniel Jones should have got his money. That's all I'm saying. They
Yeah.
gave him 40 million. They saw what he could do. They seen what he does without the star of Saquon Barkley, and they still paid him. So I don't. Maybe they saw something I didn't, or they see something I don't. But I think if you listen to what Colin Cowherd said, he said if you start a guy, I'll give him till Thanksgiving to give my first evaluation. After Thanksgiving, if you look good enough, I'll let you finish the year and we'll go from there. If you don't look that good around Thanksgiving, that's like week 12, week 12 or 13. If we're like 1-9 come like week 10, week 11, 12, yeah, I might have to sit you down depending on your performance and be like, look, man, just sit behind. We're just going to finish out the year. It's going to be a losing season anyway. Let's just go ahead and let this veteran do it, and then we'll work on you in the offseason. Now,
Yeah.
after the one season, if it goes the same way season two, no, I'm done with you. You're not coming back. No, you're good. Have fun, on whatever team wants to take you, or if you get cut, if they need you from somewhere else, we don't need your services here. So I think guys like CJ Stroud, I think he's going to be okay. I think he's fine. He might not be as great as he was in his rookie year, but I think he's going to be okay. Jalen Hurts, I think he's going to be fine. Guys like Trevor Lawrence, I don't know about him yet. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know what to say, buddy. You're in a decent situation and you're not performing. You're not playing like a number one pick. But Anthony Richardson, I think he's going to develop. I think he's going to improve his strength and conditioning, and I think he's going to become one of the greatest tight ends the Colts has ever had once he finally switches his position. All right.
I really think he should be a tight end. I want to give him the Tim Tebow treatment. I hear that.
What else is he
Oh, the
big
Taysom
for?
Hill.
He's big for no reason. Talking about he's tired. He took himself out the game because he said he was tired.
Hey, tired boss. I got to take a rest. Wasn't that like a third down?
Yeah, the strength and
Oh
conditioning needs
God.
to be taken a look at. Now, Bryce Young,
Oh yes.
I think
Okay.
Bryce Young is going to be a fantastic Canadian Football League player once he
Wow.
finally ends his Panthers time, but I don't see no team taking him. I don't.
I don't know. I just more time. We'll see. He just needs
Would
to
you ra-
develop. He's
would
short.
you rather would you rather have Bryce Young or Josh Rosen?
Bryce Young. Josh Rosen
Mm.
was awful. You asked me to choose bad and worse. Right now, plus Bryce Young is still sort of a question mark. Not enough time and a bad organization. I know what Josh Rosen is. I know
Man,
what
the
he is.
Panthers. Looking back, the Panthers haven't had like when they hit gold, they hit it pretty hard. But when they strike out at quarterback, it's bad for Carolina, man.
Well, they have a new ownership. It's just having a new
Shoot.
ownership. They haven't hit. They had new ownership for the last 6 years. Which, if you look at it, how long they've been bad?
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah,
speaking of bad teams, we're going to try to focus more on the good teams. So
yeah.
here it is, folks. The moment we've all been waiting for. The week is over. The week is done. On to this week's big power ranking. Chris, how do you got on your list this week?
Power rankings are up, and we have some movement from last week. And it starts right at number 10. A team that was not on my list last week has worked their way into the top 10. Welcome to the top 10, the Atlanta Falcons at 6-3. Just coming off of a win, which, before a win over the Cowboys sounded a lot better, but nowadays it doesn't sound as great to say we beat the Cowboys. But hey, Kirk Cousins looks good. Drake London, I think he got hit or something in that game. Bijan
Yeah.
Robinson looks good. Kyle Pitts kind of disappeared, but it was time for him to take a break, I guess. Didn't really do me any favors on underdog there, Kyle, but it's okay. It's all right.
I just
We'll take that.
I just want to say I think it's hilarious that you put them at number 10 and then immediately said, well, but you beat the team that doesn't matter. But, here's a consolation. You still ain't going to list. Like,
I can't deny a team at this point that has 6 wins. The Falcons have 6 wins. My team don't have 6 wins. All right, I can't
I
knock
hear
them.
that, right?
All right,
I
they're
hear that.
probably since the issues that are going on with the Buccaneers, and I granted they did put up a valiant effort. I can't see them currently winning the division without Mike Evans or Chris Godwin.
Okay.
Until they come back, I'm giving that to the Falcons.
Excellent. All right. Well, in your number 9 spot. Number
Number
9.
9 is another team who I did not have last week, which I did actually get some flack from some outsiders. But the Minnesota Vikings are hanging on at
Mm.
number 9. They beat the Colts 21-13. It was Old Man Joe. Old Man Joe was chucking it, but it did not come down as much as he needed it to. They needed a win. They were floundering. They were down. They had lost 2 in a row. If they had lost that third one, the old pumpkin watch for Sam Darnold was ready and waiting. Twitter had its fingers ready for it, but they won. So they stave it off for a week, but I'm watching them. That's why they're at number 9.
And man, it sucks to be Sam Darnold. Waking up every day, having one of the best runs of your career, and everyone just listening on the radio, hearing people say, man, we can't wait for that guy to lose.
All
He
right.
is just going to mess it up.
He's
It sucks for
good
Sam Darnold.
for
Oh,
now.
well.
All right.
You know who you are. But anyway, speaking of who you are, who you have at number 8? Who is this?
Number eight, we have on a 4-game win streak, the backwards hurtling Philadelphia Eagles, standing at 6-2, currently second in their division. I mean, I don't really see the other two teams behind them in their division giving them any trouble. So it looks like right now this is a race to see if Washington or Philly can maintain their structure. But right now, the Eagles sit at 6-2, and they're eight, only because I've seen them do this before. If they can maintain, if we come back later and they're 8-2, 9-2, maybe we can talk. But if we come back and they are 6-4, 7-5, it starts to catch up with them a little bit, they're going to drop back down.
All right. Well, in that case, who do you have at number 7?
Number 7 did not move. They were on a bye week, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm keeping them there. And I'm wondering if I should have made them higher, but since they were coming off a bye, I'm not going to move them. I'm going to let them sit. Now, if they win this week, they're going to jump my number 16 because that was the one spot that I was kind of concerned between 7 and 6.
All right. Well, seeing how we're going to keep them the same in that case, who was rounding out at number 5?
No,
No, I'm
number
sorry,
6. We
6. 6.
Number
Okay.
6 is the only team currently coming off of a loss. It's the Green Bay Packers. I'm keeping them in the top 10. I still think they're a solid team. This was the bad Jordan Love that showed up. It is a little strange to me that a team that's built to play outdoors loses pretty handily to a team that plays in a dome against a quarterback who thrives in a dome. So it was a little strange, but this is the Lions we're talking about. So they lost by 10 at home to one of the best teams in the league. So I'm not going to punish them too hard. They did drop a couple spots, but they do stay in the top 10.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, in that case, we are going to go ahead and break into the number 5. And who do you have breaking the number 5 spot?
Number 5, shout out
5.
to Jaden Daniels
Oh,
because the
wow.
Washington Commanders at 7-2 are number 5 on this list right now. I think they could easily I think they can beat any team below them in the top 10. And they just traded today for Marshawn Lattimore to strengthen up that secondary. Marshawn Lattimore's been clamping down on NFC wide receivers for years. Mike Evans hates this guy. Like, he can't get a play on him to save his life. And now you're telling me a team that started out the year with a low-ranked defense, and their defense has slowly been getting better, so now they're about middle of the pack. Now they just added a top-tier secondary player. Washington's making a run. I haven't seen the hype behind Washington this high since Taylor Heineke, and Jaden Daniels is way better than Taylor Heineke was, at least right now. They sit at number 5.
Very true. All right. Excellent. Well, in that case, who do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I have the third best team in the AFC, and that's the Buffalo Bills. They're
Really?
7-2, coming off of they escaped. I'm going to say that. They beat the Dolphins, but it wasn't super convincing. I did see a caption for them that said, the Bills play best when it looks like they're going to lose the whole game, and then they win. So I'm here for it. I
Oh,
mean, Josh Allen, he is playing at a level that he needs to be. He's carrying his team on offense. The Dolphins, they did look a lot better, I will say that, based on their previous performance, but they still came up short. And I think that coming up short might have cost them any hope of their season. They're 2-7 now. And they have Tua back, and it's great that he's back, but he's lost both games since his return, and I don't think that's going to change anything.
all right.
I think they
Oh,
should
here we
settle.
go. The Trinity. Here it is, the final 3 best 3 teams in the league. But who do you have coming at the bottom of 3 in that case?
This one was tough. I'm not going to lie to you because the 2 teams above them, while their records might be better, I think you know who the 2 teams above them are. But this team, I think if you let them play them right now, I think the Baltimore Ravens at 3 could give both top 2 teams a run for their money. The Ravens invited the Broncos into their house. The Broncos are coming off a win. The Broncos have been looking good. Sean Payton and that defense have been looking good. Bo Nix had been running really well, and he'd been throwing okay, but their offense had been clicking. This was supposed to be a shootout. The Ravens defense was supposed to be weak, but you look at that box score and you tell me who the dominant team was. That was a 41-10 beatdown, and the Ravens were comfortable doing it. They picked their feet up, they made themselves a sandwich, and they told Bo Nix, hit the road, Jack. You're not welcome at M&T Bank Stadium. Side note, who the hell uses M&T Banks? You know what? Different video.
Yeah, right. Well, in that case, who do you have at number two?
Number two, as much as people want to put them at number one, their history tells me I can't do it. They look really good. They're the best team in their conference. They have a star quarterback. They have a star tight end. They have a star wide receiver, and they have a really aggressive coach. The Detroit Lions are number two on this list. That's 7-1. Do I think they might actually be the best team in the league? Yes. I think they might actually be the best team in the league. But there's two factors that are making me not put them at number one. They don't have Patrick Mahomes. They don't have Andy Reid. I'm sorry.
Mm,
You put both of them on that Lions team, well, that's easily the best team in the league. Dan Campbell, I need to see him do a gamble, fail, and still recover, and then we can have a conversation. But right now, they're number two. Even if their records were reversed, I would have the Chiefs up
okay.
because they're the
All right.
Chiefs.
Okay, so in that case, I guess no spoiler in that regard. You do have the Chiefs. Do you want
Number
to pile
one.
on more? Because we talked about so much of what makes them a dominant team. Is there anything else you want to add and why they'll be your number one team?
Oh, I mean, now to pile on what we said, any team that looks like this and still doesn't look like they've gotten out of bed this morning, they're just kind of, just having fun. They're just hanging out. They're having a backyard football party over there, and everyone else is playing hard against them. I don't know. I think the only thing that stops the Chiefs right now is the Chiefs' own hubris. I think that's it. I think they're going to go into a game. They're going to think, ha, we got this. Don't worry about that. People think it's going to be the Bills that dethrones them. I don't think it is. I don't think the Bills are going to be the first ones to take them down. I think they're going to lose before they get there because every game they've won this year, which has been all of them, none of them have been
Right.
blowouts. They haven't blown anybody out. Not one person, not one team. The biggest win they had was the Saints. And it's someone has to catch up to them. They're not invincible, but it's like the mystique. This team that is playing poorly, their quarterback has more interceptions than he does touchdowns. Their defense looks good, but they can be thrown on. They can be run on. They just can't be scored on. But like you
That's the
said, the
problem.
mystique is there. Until someone knocks them off their perch, the mystique grows. Every time they beat someone, like, oh man, are these guys unbeatable? You start questioning yourself. Can we beat them? I don't know. Even teams that have beaten them in the past. Can you beat them? The Raiders were the last team to beat them. They just got beaten. That's a division game. Now, who's on their schedule coming up? Let's see. Who is on the Chiefs' schedule? That is not.
Oh, yeah. I can give me one second. I'll pull that up right here.
They got
Like,
the
you want to know who's the rest
Broncos.
of the team they have?
Yeah,
Yeah, they got the Broncos and the Bills. Well, they'll be at the Bills. Then in Carolina, that'll be on November 24th. Oh, yeah, that's right. Keep that in mind.
that's right.
Las Vegas Raiders will be next. Well, they'll be at home against the Raiders, at home for Chargers, on the road for Browns, at home for Texans, on the road for Steelers, on the road for the Broncos.
Broncos gave them trouble last year, but that was Russell Wilson. That was Patrick Mahomes not feeling well game, and they lost. That was the first time Patrick Mahomes had lost to the Broncos in his career. The Broncos look better this year. They're coming off of a loss, an embarrassing loss. This is the kind of game where a team can punch a little harder. So I think if the Chiefs were going to be vulnerable at any point coming off an overtime victory on Monday night on a shorter week, Broncos, this is your moment, bro. This is your time to go in there, go into Arrowhead, establish yourself, and keep yourself in this playoff race. If they don't lose to the Broncos, that should be at least enough for them to do what the Bills did for the Niners last year when they went into Philly, softened them up for us. I think that's what the Broncos are going to do for the Bills. They're going to go in there, the Chiefs are going to come into Buffalo, and they're going to lose. Because
Okay.
Josh Allen beats Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. He just don't beat him when it counts. I think, though, the most infinitely hilarious thing would be if the Chiefs beat every team except the Carolina Panthers. If they
Mm.
lose to the Panthers, if a Panthers loss is the only loss on their season, it would be the best thing I've ever seen. Just absolute sin.
That would be. All right, well, that's your list. Not too bad. The Gridiron Elite, as you like to call it around here. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say, I'm looking at your list. I like it so far, but what I don't like is the Packers at number six. I feel like they're
Mm-hmm.
too high. Okay, number one, they haven't beaten the Vikings. The Vikings are at
No.
nine. And I also think the Steelers are better than the Packers if they were to play today, tomorrow, or even next week. I feel like the Packers are just a bit too high. But other than that, I question the Washington team, but we'll see. Time goes on. But other than that, it's not a bad list overall. Well, hey, you know what? Tell us what you think in the comments. Do you like it? Do you feel as if your team is a snub? Do you think the Texans belong back on the list again because they were recently taken off? Do you feel as if there's someone who may be possibly sneaking up there? It ain't
I
the
do
Jets.
have no, it's not. It's not the
It's
Jets.
not the Jets, man. It's not coming.
I do have three teams that did not make the top 10, but definitely keeping an eye on them. Number one is the Chargers. Chargers are quietly 5-3. They don't do anything fancy. This is Jim Harbaugh's football. They play solid defense. They throw when they need to. They're heavily focused on the run game. They're just coming off of a win, a solid win over the Browns, 27-10. The Chargers could sneak into the playoffs as a wild card team. Just keep an eye on him. And I don't think they played the Chiefs yet. Have they? I don't think they have.
Nope, I do said the Chiefs here. Chiefs have not. No, they did. They played the Chargers early this year. It was 17-10. They played them
Mm,
in LA.
okay. All right. So they do have that. And then I do have to bring a nod to the Arizona Cardinals. They are leading their division. They are on somewhat of a hot streak, and they just beat up the Chicago Bears, who were supposed to have a pretty solid defense. They beat them by 20 points. I mean, Kyler Murray, when he's on, he's on. The Cardinals tend to go on these little weird, good-looking streaks, but this is about the time of year between this game and Thanksgiving. This is around the time Kyler usually has like a nitpicking injury that doesn't go away. He'll get like a little trip, a stumble, his ankle will be sprained, or have a hamstring issue, or like something in his thumb will pop up, and then it's going to bother him for like 6 weeks. It's the strangest thing. I really hope for their sake they don't lose their star quarterback, but as a 49ers fan, and we need all the help we can get. So shout out to
I
Christian
hear that.
McCaffrey coming back. We getting Jawan Jennings, Jake Moody. This for fantasy purposes. Jake Moody is back. Jawan Jennings is back. McCaffrey is back. Greenlaw's coming.
All right. All right. Who else did you have on the list by chance?
Oh no, that's
Or was
it.
that the main one?
Yeah, those are
Okay.
the main two right now. No one else is really enough for me to say, hey, let's keep an eye on them, except maybe the Rams, but I'm not 100% sold on them.
All
They
right.
beat, they beat the
Well,
Seahawks, but the Seahawks are all.
right. But like I said, if you do have your opinion of a poll or I'm sorry, power ranking that you feel as if will be about similar, maybe a little bit different, go ahead and post it in the comments. If you do have an issue with the power ranking or you think the order is actually good, go in the comment as well. Is there anything else? That really is about
So
it.
I do have one question I do want to pose, and this is not only just to you. I can answer it if you like, or we can see what anyone else has to say in the comments. But I do have to say, as a mid-season hot take, would it be weird to say not only are the Ravens going to get into the playoffs, they're going to get straight to the AFC title game. They might make the Super Bowl. And is it weird to say that we could possibly see a Ravens Commanders Super Bowl? Is that out of the question? Is that a hot take?
It is. It ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And I mean, it's nothing against it. It's just that rookie QBs don't tend to go that far.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. Are they even good enough to beat some of the other top teams in the NFC? I like the Washington team. I'm not completely sold on them just yet. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sold on them to the degree that most people are, but I'm slow to be warmed up to these type of people. Oh, that's a bad take. I'm not slow, but it takes me a moment to warm up to these good teams because it took me a minute to warm up to the Bills when they started getting hot with Josh Allen. I'm still kind of hot and cold about the Lions right now, honestly. I don't know. We'll see. I heard Texas was supposed to be this dominant team. Now, granted, they are winning their division,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still not a great team overall. They're good, but I don't know. Will the
Okay.
Washington team make the Commanders? No. The Commanders make the Super Bowl? No. No, they won't. No.
Who's the best quarterback in the NFC East, assuming all starters are healthy?
Oh, in the NFC East?
Mm-hmm.
I'll still take Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott, huh? Hmm.
I mean, I
You're
don't know
not
who else.
you're
Like,
not
Tay
taking
Day is a rookie
Jalen?
year.
You're not taking Jalen Hurts. He's the only one who's been to a Super Bowl in that division.
Okay. I hear you. And they lost, right?
Yeah, but he lost to Patrick. It's like
And
losing to
hold
Mahomes
hold
is like
on.
losing
They
to
lost.
Brady.
They lost. And if I'm not mistaken, even in the NFC title game they were in, didn't the quarterback get hurt in that game that could have possibly won that game?
Yeah, see, yeah, that's true. Brock Purdy did get hurt
So I
like
don't know.
3 minutes
So,
into the first quarter. So
so yeah, I don't know. Nothing against Jalen Hurts, but I made my answer. Yeah, Dak
okay,
Prescott.
no, that's fair. I'm not mad at that. I'm not upset at that.
Yeah.
Well, who's the best
I think
quarterback in
Dak.
the AFC South then?
Yeah, it's going to be C.J. Stroud, I would imagine, because I mean, it ain't Joe Flacco, it ain't Will Levis, and right now, Trevor Lawrence is definitely the question. So, yeah, it's going to be C.J. Stroud.
You're not giving it to Super Bowl winning Joe Flacco. The man
That
won a
was a
Super Bowl.
1,000 years ago.
Mhm.
That was a billion years ago. There are people who probably listen to this podcast that don't even know who Joe Flacco won that Super Bowl.
I watched that Super
Honestly,
Bowl.
could be. Yeah, but yeah, that was. I mean, look, it's the NFC doesn't have a large list of great quarterback play. That's always kind of been
No.
the thing. They're the best conference when it comes to the whole team
Teams,
dynamic.
yeah.
Hence, your Detroit Lions, say 49ers, because I still like Brock Purdy. You can make the case about the Eagles. I don't even well, no, you can't say about the Cowboys,
I
but
mean, the
nonetheless,
Cowboys, with this roster they have, prior to this year, they had won 12 games 3 seasons in a row. I mean, that's solid success.
yeah, it's just getting past that. It's getting over that hump. That's the issue they have. You know, that's the same thing you say about the Bills. You can say that about the Ravens. It's getting over the hump. Now, granted, on their end of the spectrum, it's a Patrick Mahomes factor. If you get rid of him, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe Lamar has two Super Bowls for all we know. Maybe Josh Allen has a Super Bowl. We don't know.
Right? We don't know. We've never seen him make it. So, that's the
That's
thing.
kind of a key thing.
When Dak gets to the playoffs, he's almost a lock to throw 2 interceptions a game. And I don't understand that. I don't know what happens to him. He gets pressured and he just starts trying to force the ball in places he can't put it. Like, you can't put the ball there, Dak. There's no one there. It's
Yeah,
very
you see,
strange.
I just want to emphasize the Lamar Jackson factor here.
Hmm.
If Lamar seriously could get past Patrick Mahomes, he could be a Super Bowl champion. The man's record against the NFC is 23-1.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
doesn't lose to this conference. He just has to get past the Mahomes mountain, as
Wait a
some
minute.
people like to say.
Who was the one that beat him?
That's
Because it
the thing I
wasn't
have to go
us.
find real quick.
It's
I
definitely not us. We haven't
know.
beat him. We played him twice and we lost Simpleton.
Let me see.
Because I just find it ironic that would. No, I think they lost to the Giants, didn't they? I'm pretty sure it's the Giants. I had to say, because if it's the Giants, then he doesn't have to worry about it. It is the Giants. It is.
2022. Yeah, Giants.
Yeah. So they're not
Is
making the
that
Super
right?
Bowl. So
Oh, because he didn't start. That's why. Because his
yeah,
other losses are against Carolina and New Orleans, but he wasn't a starter. He only came
yeah,
in for a series. So it was the Giants. But that was back in 2022.
yeah. That was a game that the Ravens kind of pissed away. Like, they had a lead late in the game, and the
Oh, that was
Giants. Yeah.
2020 to 4.
Hmm.
Yeah, I see. And the Giants came back. All right, well, there it is. That's
Well,
that one. And
the
even then, they
Giants.
had Saquon Barkley on the team at that time.
Yeah, he's on the Eagles now.
Yeah, so, yeah, I was saying, Lamar, he gets past Patrick. I tell you, that's the only roadblock he has in his
Is
career right
that
now.
the? Yeah, because that's the thing. That's his playoff hurdle now. Because he got past the first round. He's made it to the AFC title game. He's made it to the doorstep. That's the only place you can go further, is winning that game. And the only one of the big AFC quarterbacks that has won that game is Joe Burrow against Patrick
That's
Mahomes.
true.
Because
Yeah, that is true.
all three of them have played Patrick in the AFC title game. Lamar, Josh, and Joe have all played Patrick in the AFC title game, and only Joe won. And he only won once.
Yeah, and he's kind of riding that wave ever since.
I mean, to be fair, he probably should have won the second time, but his lineman shoving Mahomes out of bounds when he was clearly already out at that late in the game was a bad idea. Like, I get you're frustrated, bro. Just take it easy.
Only.
But that's the thing.
Also,
Even Joe Burrow, the one guy to beat Patrick Mahomes and go to the Super Bowl, he lost. He didn't win the game. That's how
yeah, they
Matt
lost to the
Stafford got
Rams
his
that
first
year.
ring. Yep.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have happened if the homeboy who was playing the defensive back playing for the 49ers had caught the
Oh my
intercepted
God.
ball
Jaquaski
that Matt
Tart,
had
man.
touched. That's it, Jaquazi Tart. You know why I can't say his name? Because he ain't been in the league since that
No,
play.
he
That's
has
why.
not. You better learn Chinese, buddy. All right, because
He's
you're
not
not going
playing
to be here.
football. Man, might as well go play in the Canadian League like old Bryce Young will be pretty soon.
Oh, they could go to the was it the UFL? There it is. They got the UFL.
Oh, that'll be happening again this year, I imagine. Yeah, we're not covering that, folks.
No, I don't know.
We're not covering that league. We're
I
not
got
going to be talking about
7 NFL fantasy teams. I got other things to worry about. I got my own team. I'm not watching any more football. I might watch it, but I'm not covering.
it. No, I'm not watching it. I don't care. Oh, give me a star. I'll take a look at it. There's no star in that league. But I'm glad they actually finished your season and actually had a champion. That's one of the things I always
Yeah,
knocked those leagues for in the past. They couldn't even finish a season.
they're not going to have any stars because as soon as someone gets big, they're just going to get picked up by the NFL again.
That's why they should become like a pipeline. You know what? That's what should happen. You talk. Let's go back to that conversation for a second. These college
Hmm.
players, because I still feel like college isn't producing a great system. They should go ahead and incorporate the NFL merging with these other leagues, treating it like the NBA does the G League. You know what's going to happen with Bronny? Bronny's going to play a few games on the top level, but
Hmm.
somewhere soon he's going to get put down in the G League because he ain't ready,
No,
and
he's
that's
not.
fine. That's what all teams do to some degree. The NFL doesn't have something like that except it's called a practice squad. I don't even know what the hell a practice squad does. I don't even know if they even play games. But I know they're not doing anything productive to try to
No,
become on a roster unless it's dire. I'm not saying they're not productive players. I'm just saying the team isn't going to do much except use you when we have no players left in that position.
pretty much.
So maybe they should look into UFL and be like, change it, help make it a somewhat developmental league for the NFL, a
I
pipeline.
think so. I mean, they already
Well, I would
have
think.
The Rock involved. I'm pretty sure he would do it he's the owner of the UFL. If you asked him, I'm pretty sure they could work out some sort of a deal. He likes money and he likes having his face on things. So,
You're right about that. You're right about that. They need to do something because I don't know. I mean, right now I don't even know who the top QB college prospect is coming into this
oh,
next
right
draft.
now, is it not
That
Jalen
I think
Milrow?
of. I think I don't know because
Quinn
right now,
Ewers?
guess what? The Panthers are probably going to be making that pick again. That's the way they're going. Wow, it's actually a four-way tie between Jacksonville, New Orleans, the Panthers, and the Raiders.
I see
Oh, I'm sorry, and the Giants.
you got
Oh, Quinn.
Quinn Ewers from Texas. You got Jalen
Hmm.
Milrow from Bama. You got Connor Wayman from Texas A&M, and of course you got Shador Sanders on the Colorado Buffalo.
You say, of course, like that. Look, just because he's Dion's son, don't mean it's
uh,
supposed to be in the court. Like he ain't that
excuse
great.
you, that is prime time Deion Sanders. Excuse me, that is Super Bowl champion
Okay,
prime
we ain't
time
talk
Deion
about yeah. We're
Sanders.
not talking about Deion Sanders. We talk about his son, who just it's about to be a whole Bronny thing. I'm not gonna make that comparison, but it feels like it. Never
Someone
mind.
pointed out that every time that the Raiders lose, Shador tweets out "Thank you God." Every time the Raiders lose, might be something to
Does he
that. He
want to
wants
play
to
for
go
the
to Vegas.
Raiders?
He wants to go to Vegas. I think. Yeah, they need a
Hmm.
quarterback,
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's Vegas.
and they kind of running on an interim coach too. Man, it'd be really weird if they just happen to
To
hire
be
Deion
honest,
Sanders.
yeah. I was thinking that too. I was seriously thinking that if Deion Sanders were no, if his son were to get drafted, he would try to become a coach. And you know what? God, the Raiders are paying too many people already. They still got the John Gruden deal to pay. They still probably paying Josh McDaniels. They can't afford Deion Sanders.
Come on, it's prime time, baby. Prime
Yeah,
time.
they can't put it on the books. Prime time's too expensive. How about matinee?
Would you rather the Panthers get Shador Sanders, or would you rather the Panthers get Travis Hunter?
Oh, I'd rather the Panthers get new ownership. Let's start there. Because I mean, you can start drafting all these players. Pretty soon it's going. You know, I'm telling you, the Panthers are going to become the Browns of the NFC South. What the Browns used to be prior to Baker Mayfield. Yeah, if Baker Mayfield turned that organization around, I would die on that hill.
Yeah,
Prior
that's
to
fair.
Baker Mayfield, they are just going to be a team that goes to quarterback to quarterback to quarterback. That same Browns jersey you see with the quarterback's names all over it. Yeah, the Panthers one is coming in a couple of years.
Will they follow
They
in the
probably.
footsteps? Will they follow in the footsteps of the '08 Lions and the '16 Browns and go 0 for the entire season? They would be the
No,
first team to
because
go 0 and 18 if
no,
they did that.
they don't play in
0
the
and
great
17.
division. They'll always find a
That's
win in
fair.
their own division. So
And that's how
no,
they won
they'll
this year. They won against the Saints.
exactly right. So no, they'll manage to must listen. If they get to that point where they don't win a single game, and plus it's an extended year where what they're playing 18 games this year, I think. I don't remember now.
17.
No, it's 17. Okay,
Yeah.
16 to no. Okay, they added one more game.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, don't get me wrong, it could happen,
It could.
but I'm
Yeah.
not holding my breath on it because I don't. The NFC South ain't great.
No,
The
as long as you
AFC
have,
South, I'm saying the AFC
yeah.
North was good, and the NFC North was really good. So that was two different animals.
Yeah, I think they were getting beaten down by their division too. So yeah.
Yeah, because you had what, Ravens, Steelers, they're always good. Packers,
Bengals.
Vikings, they're for the most part always good. Bengals, Vikings, yeah, that kind of makes sense. If you get beat up by them.
So
Yeah,
no 0-17 Carolina. No, they'll. I mean,
yeah,
is it? They'll keep squeaking out like 1 to 3 win seasons, in maybe 4 if they get lucky, because
yeah.
they're
Well,
not winning,
no, lucky. That's a good statement. If they get lucky, they got two so far. I mean, that's true. They got two. They could probably get two more wins.
and they got one
But
under
either way, it's still
Dalton
a
and
dumpster
one under
fire.
Bryce. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that is right.
Yeah, because Dalton, he's the only reason Bryce is back out there is because Dalton had like a off the field injury. He had like a car accident he was involved in.
Yeah, and he hurt his hand overall.
Sound like a cop out to
I don't
me,
know.
Andy. He just didn't want to play. He was like, I don't want to play for Carolina. Tell him I got hurt.
Seriously, that team is awful. They need new ownership. They need something. It's an awful team right now.
It's so
They're gonna be the
bad.
Browns.
This team was in the Super Bowl less than 10 years ago.
A lot can happen in that time. The Titans were in the AFC Championship game, what, 4, 5 years ago? And they're about to be a dumpster fire. They're getting rid of,
Not a
they're
dumpster
selling
fire.
all liquidated assets. I mean, really, they got rid of all their pieces.
They're
For
not
the
getting
most
rid of
part, except for
Simmons
the big
though.
one. They got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. For a person
Steelers
who
on the
needs,
move
yeah.
again.
Oh,
Steelers
what they
have
pick up?
added. Not only did they pick up Mike Williams, they just picked up a pass rusher from the Packers, Preston Smith. The Steelers are trying to load up.
Well, there you go then.
Steelers are going to be moving up that list by the looks of it. If Russell Wilson is playing anywhere near like he did towards the end of his Seattle run, then we could be in some trouble in the AFC North. They might start making some noise.
Makes sense.
We
Right.
still got what, an hour before the trade deadline ends? It ends at 4 Eastern. It's just coming on 3 o'clock.
Are you expecting any other big trades to happen or any other teams to potentially make any moves?
Tyreek Hill was kind of thrown around, but I haven't seen anything about him. And if the teams like the Lions and the Chiefs and stuff aren't interested, the Vikings don't really need him. Uh, are there any top teams that are pass catcher short that could use a Tyreek Hill?
Oh, well, what team couldn't use a Tyreek Hill to some degree, right? I mean, it ain't like he's just some scrub out there. I'd be
No.
surprised if the Dolphins move him. Honestly, I would be. Because I don't under that just. Now, I'd be surprised if the Dolphins move him. But yeah, any team would take him, just what is he worth? And do you have what it takes to get him?
Yeah, because the thing is, if you move him, that's essentially throwing in the towel for this season and saying we're trying to build for the future. Now, if you keep him and just kind of play out the rest of the year, it just looks like you guys are setting up for next year to try again when Tua is 100%. I don't know. If I were them, I would sell. And the
You
Tua
would move up with
situation,
Tyreek Hill?
I would move off of Tyreek. I would move off of Jalen Ramsey. I think he's lost a step. I think he's too expensive and you could get good picks out of it. You could get solid multiple picks for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey to set up for next year. I think you could, or
Yes.
get rid of Raheem Mostert because he could still help a team. You're not really doing anything with him. He doesn't have much time left. He's already on the back half of his career.
Wow. Have
No,
you
but
ever seen Tua's full first name? Oh my God.
no, I have not. I don't think. But there's probably
Oh
a
wow.
reason they call it Tua.
Oh yeah, it is. It is definitely a reason. I'm going to send it to you actually because it is.
Oh my God. I don't even know. Nah. Why is his middle name just Donnie?
Yeah, Donnie, right? Tua Tig, it's a lot to say. His name is it's a lot, but yeah.
We have trouble with his last name, and his first name is the real one.
But yeah, nonetheless, I don't know. I feel like the Dolphins need to hang on the hill just in case. I mean, look, Tua does have a concussion issue, but he's currently playing right now.
Yeah,
Let it run its stride. Will they win that division?
no.
Probably not. But at the same time, they could still muster in a wild card slot if they just maintain.
I mean, to be fair,
Well,
this is the team that lost like their first 7 games a couple seasons ago, and then they won 7 in a row.
I
I've
mean,
seen
that's what they have
stranger
Brian
things.
Flores. That's true, and that's the
That's
thing. They can
true.
still do that. They can still do that. It's not over yet. And I mean, you still got teams like Cincinnati, Indianapolis. Things can turn around for them for the worst, that is, where right now they're above them, but they can go south.
Well,
Um,
I think the Colts are
Maybe the
about to fall
Broncos.
off. Colts are about to fall off the map. Broncos got 1 or 2 more games before they're put in a situation where they're not going to be able to solidly make the playoffs unless they run the table.
So they beat the Buccaneers, the Jets, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Panthers. The Broncos don't beat good teams because they lost to the Seahawks, they lost to the Steelers, they lost to the Chargers, and they lost to the Ravens. They play the Chiefs next, the Falcons, then they have the Raiders, Browns, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. I'm expecting the Bucks to fall off.
But yeah, without Evans and Godwin, I mean, they put up an effort yesterday against the Chiefs, but
Oh, no, I'm
they,
sorry. I said the Bucks. I
uh,
said the Bucks. I'm sorry. I'm going to say the Broncos. I expect the
okay,
Broncos to
yeah.
fall off.
Yeah, Bo Nix is going to be Bo Nix. He's going to be a rookie and he's going to make stupid decisions. That's
I
not
guess it's just they don't beat good teams. I'm just looking at their records, and even though they have a good record, their good records are against bad teams. So they're better than bad teams, but they're not good enough to beat good teams. So they're a middle of the road pack, but that's enough. of a schedule on the back end to put them down the slot that if Miami turns it up, they could possibly take their slot. I don't know. Seeing how we're still halfway through, I kind of feel like the playoff race is really starting to pick up. This
Hmm.
can get pretty interesting. We may see some shifting after these next couple of weeks real soon of who the top teams are.
Oh
Because some
yeah,
of these teams are starting to show to be a mirage. I feel like the Broncos are a mirage.
yeah, that's possible.
To that
What
record,
what
to the
about the
for the record is
Chargers?
accurate. I don't think the Chargers. I don't. If the Chargers make it, it'll be because other teams fail. But they're a team I'm not expecting to do too much. I feel like the Chargers aren't putting their best foot forward. Because I mean, even Sam, what is it? Oh my God, what's the guy's name?
Justin Herbert?
Yeah, Justin
Mhm.
Herbert. He's not even playing his best football right now. It's not
No,
like the worst, but it's just not his best. But
he's
10
not
touchdowns and
throwing.
one interception.
That's why
Yeah,
I thought it was
he's not
cool
too
that
bad.
Jim Harbaugh went to the
1,900
Chargers,
yards.
but Justin Herbert's not built for that system. Justin Herbert's built to chuck the ball deep. That's why I thought it was strange that they didn't move off of him or do anything with him. Now he's just casually throwing like 200 yards a game, and that's it.
Well, this kind of, but he's only 10 touchdowns. He's thrown one interception. He's not doing too bad. No game-winning drives or anything like that. I mean, they don't have Keenan Allen, Mike Evans. They don't have any of the top receivers they had last year.
And
They have
Mike
Will
Williams is
Disley.
now he's now a Steeler.
They got J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, who's coming off injuries. He hasn't even been 100% healthy this season.
And he's had 600 yards. So, well, he's all granted, but he's had 600 yards so far. I mean, the Chargers are winning, but again, I don't. Well, I don't know. Maybe they might be sneakily good right now. I got to see more games.
You think the Eagles are contenders or pretenders?
That's a good question. Um, Packers, Falcons. Oh, the Eagles are contenders. Yeah, they're contenders. Yeah, they're definite. They're definite. They're not pretending. They're a legitimate threat to some team. They'll be in the playoffs.
Is it more likely that the Eagles make the playoffs or that the Packers make them?
I think both of them will.
It's very possible both will be wild card teams.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe not because that's right. Detroit probably win that division.
Exactly. Detroit
They
already has a
both could be.
tiebreaker on them, and they're 2 games ahead of them.
I mean, they both could be wild card teams.
Yeah, very possible.
Well, I don't know, but okay, no. To answer your question, it'll probably be well, right now Philadelphia, based on the fact that Green Bay still hasn't beaten the Vikings.
Hmm.
Because right now the Vikings are still on top of Green Bay, and Philadelphia is at least ahead in
Philly,
their own division.
I think Philly did beat Green Bay week 1 too when they were in Brazil.
Oh well, yeah.
Well, you don't
So
count
is
head to
that a,
head.
well, I mean, that's not the thing I'm arguing because you just asked who's going to make it in the playoffs. So not necessarily head to If it's head to head, I'm picking the Eagles. But just in the idea who'll make the playoffs, I was thinking both. But Green Bay, I don't know. Tell me Malik Willis is starting, maybe. Jordan Love starting, I don't know.
Interesting.
Well, you mentioned it the other day how Malik
True.
Willis, he wins. Yet Jordan Love plays, they lose.
The only losses they have on the season have been when Jordan Love has started. That is an actual stat.
So yeah, oh, some things to
NFC,
consider.
if the playoffs were to start right now, they would both be in.
Yes, I figure they're both being right now. But by the end of the season, it really depends on health. But as far as what I know is to be true at this moment, the Eagles have a better chance of making the playoffs than the Packers.
Yeah, they're currently the 6th seed. Packers are currently the 7th seed at 6-3, but they have kind of a lock on that right now unless the Cardinals mess up. Cardinals are 5-4. They're currently 4th in the NFC, but the Bears and the Niners are right there at 4-4. So are the Rams at 4-4. It's close. That division is nowhere near wrapped up. The NFC West is not done yet. The Cardinals have a 1-game lead. They are the only team in our division that's undefeated within the division, but they still got a lot of division games left.
Yeah, that's a tight race. Well, that's a
So
close division for
that's
the
the
most
thing.
part.
If the Niners or the Rams come up, that pushes the Cardinals down, and there's going to be crowding by the end of the season in that wild card spot. Those 3 wild card spots are going to become very precious commodities in the NFC because tiebreakers are going to play a huge factor by the time we get to the end of the season.
Cardinals would be in anyway if they were to win.
Right now,
Minnesota,
yeah.
Philly, Detroit, Washington.
But it's funny, even though they're currently on top of the division, their playoff probability is still lower than the 49ers.
Yeah, because the 49ers aren't healthy. If the 49ers are healthy, the 49ers are a better team.
If we lose this game coming up, and I don't know how much Christian McCaffrey is going to play, but it's going to have a lot of people start saying, oh no, they're really not that good. It's not, season's not that great. Uh, Baker showed he can stick in a fight. That's the thing. Even though they didn't have Mike Evans, they didn't have Chris Godwin, the run game was what it was. Their rookies showed up and they stuck in that fight. In overtime in Arrowhead on a Monday night, that's not bad, Baker. But we've beaten Baker twice now too. Actually 3 times. Yeah, we've beaten Baker on every team he's been on. So I think it's
Mm.
another dub that we can pull out here. We beat them last year. It was a tough game. It was 27-14. It was a game that we should have put away, but we didn't. So they allowed him to stick around. But again, that was with Mike Evans because he kept catching things in the end zone. They don't have him anymore, at least not right now.
You know, at
I
this
don't know,
moment, you
man.
know.
Cardinals, the Rams. I'm much more concerned about the Rams than I am the Cardinals. I think the next
No,
time
that's
we play
fair.
the yeah, I think the next time we play the Cardinals, I think we win. But the next time we play the Rams, I'm not so sure.
Oh, well, we'll see. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. But hey, tune in again soon where we will be talking about next week's games, going down a whole kind of predictions list, and even trying to see who has stayed and who has moved by the end of the trade deadline. But until
Yeah.
then, hope you have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you on the next down.
Good night, everybody.